financial situation. We don't understand, how much it's going to cost to get rid of Brendan, how much it's going to be to bring in a suitable replacement, because you'll have to spend a lot of money to get a top manager. So we don't know the situations.
It's reported it's around £10 million. But
yeah, he's obviously unhappy with the fact that every manager would be. They've not got the players they wanted to come in. And, he called it. He said there's going to be a difficult season. I don't even think Brendan and his staff would have thought it would have been this difficult after 10 games with only 5 points. But I just think you've got to dig in. Brendan has made players better. And Sav's right in the sense that there was a little bit of fight in there today, and the clean sheet's crucial. You try and take something as a manager from a game, and they've got to take that as a positive.
Can I ask you a question, Joe? So, say if they were to get rid of Brendan Rodgers, and there was a Premier League job available, a club would go for Brendan Rodgers and what he's done here. Top 5th twice, winning the FA Cup. So I think if Leicester were to get rid of him and a Premier League job come up, listen, possibly not a top 4 or 5, 6 club now, but anybody else. So Wolves, for instance, now, just say if Brendan Rodgers wasn't the Leicester manager, would Wolves?
They'd take him in a heartbeat. Yeah, I think they'd take him in a heartbeat.
Does he need to turn the situation here around first before he's in those conversations again?
No, I don't think so. I think he's proven it over the course of his career that he can manage at this level. Obviously, this is the first sort of real period of where he's under pressure. But he said it at September the 1st after the window. He was we'll be in for a struggle this year. He wasn't happy with the window. He wasn't happy with strengthening. But we saw it with Arteta last year, how much grief he was getting, how much how much pressure he was under. Sticking with the manager. There is something about sticking with the manager, seeing through it and players.
What
would be the problem if Leicester were to get relegated and Brendan Rodgers wanted to stay, or Brendan Rodgers bringing Leicester back up? Burnley did it with Sean Dyche.
Yeah.
So because, Leicester is struggling, sacking managers, there is a bit where stick with a manager. That's what you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, common sense very rarely prevails in football, does it? And we've all sat here and we all know the game, and we all know Brendan Rodgers is a proven manager, and to get yourself out of a situation like this would be good. But just looking at the owner's face when we zoomed in on him after the game, he doesn't look like a man content with his football club at the moment. But the logical thing would be to stick by him. But what Crouchy said about, when Brendan said in the press that he wasn't happy with, he would have liked to bring in more recruits. I've been in dressing rooms when managers said that, and you look around and you think to yourself, he don't fancy us here. And then they come, and then you have the next meeting, and the manager
doesn't do much for morale.
And then the manager saying, "I believe in you as a group."
You want to see new players come in, Joe?
Yeah.
You know it's like that. At the start
so you don't want to think that you're not good enough.
Yeah. At the start of the season, the levels go up in training.
Results will tell you that they're not good enough at the minute. So surely, in that dressing room, you've been in dressing rooms, we all have, where the summer comes and better players are coming in. Even the better players think, they might bring something out, my game improves. So a player in a dressing room, once new players come in, better players, it lifts everybody's level.
Especially if you see everyone around you strengthening. Forest, how many players that far less than Leicester, local to here, are bringing in that many players, spending that much money. You're looking at it and thinking, what are we doing?
But then again, sorry, Lynn, that's like when you're saying things like that. Again, we're only surmising because we don't know the facts. But when managers get asked the same questions every week about whether they're happy with the squad players coming in. And when they say things like that, like Scott Parker at Bournemouth, it usually means something's gone on where there's a breakdown in what the manager wants and what the chairman's prepared to bring in. And you try and leverage it off each other. It's like, it's almost like it's like political games out in public, when really and truly, I think the whole club needs to, if the owner just come out and go, no, right, bang, we're staying with Brendan. This is what we are. We've done this. I'm backing him. The players will go, maybe a private thing. We're going to bring in 2 players in January. And there's enough quality in this squad to stay in the Premier League.
They've massively overachieved, this football club. Winning the league was never going to happen again.
Ridiculous.
And then finishing 5th twice, win the FA Cup.
Yeah.
He's massively overachieved. Just say if they'd finished 14th, 15th over the last 3 years, and they are where they are now, that's par for the course. You'll think, we've got to get up to 14. He's massively overachieved.
Yeah, but Sav, sorry, question.
I know.
Fans, once you're there, once you've touched that mountain, you want it again and again and again. And fair play, the training ground's different class. They've invested in players, so it's right for that they're not happy with where they are at the moment. And this group of players, we've praised them over the last few years because they've done it. But it's a different situation now.